Welcome to the protest this morning. Good to see so many of you out. This is a protest to free Julian Assange, to stop his extradition to the United States. We want to send a very clear message, both to the judges and to the politicians, that we stand for freedom of speech, that Julian Assange stands for a free press, that there are only really two sorts of news: government handouts and news they don't want you to hear. And if you want to hear the news they don't want you to hear, we need journalists like Julian Assange.
Very moved to know that so many people showed up today. Whatever happens today and tomorrow and this week, please keep on showing up. Be there for Julian and for us and for you until Julian is free.
My blood boils at the idea of the establishment, both in America and, of course, the poodles that we have here in our own government, persecuting him. For what reason? He's not been charged with anything. He's simply told truth.
And you might ask yourself, why would journalists all over the world wish to express their concern at this case in a British court brought by an American administration? And the reason is simple. The actions for which they are seeking to prosecute Julian Assange are actions that journalists undertake every day.
Well, I was in the beginning in the court this morning, but I was not allowed to go into the main courtroom, so I was being allocated a seat in the annex room, which was supposed to have a live feed, audio and video feed from the main courtroom. But all the journalists there and me could not hear anything. The quality of the audio was so bad that nobody could make out anything. There was huge complaint. Some of the journalists left, and they seem simply not to be able to handle this situation. As we learned, of course, this morning, Julian Assange, for health reasons, was not able to attend this proceeding. And if he is allowed some access to video link to these proceedings that are so important for him and his future, where the question of life and death is at stake, he probably has to rely on the same video and audio link that people were not able to get anything from this morning.
One of the greatest injustices in the world continues, because a man who brought the truth about governments, the truth about the lies of governments, the truth about the crimes of governments, who brought that truth to billions of people, is languishing in a maximum security jail, where he has been now for 5 years. And that is wrong. That is wrong. Today, in that court, Lady Judge is going to sit at the head of the court, who is the sister of the man who arranged an £800,000 loan for Boris Johnson and then became chairman of the BBC. Because that is how the British establishment works. It is corrupt to its core.
Last week, the entire Australian Parliament voted on a motion in the Australian Parliament that 2/3 of the parliamentarians voted in favour of, including the government, including all the cabinet ministers, defence ministers, and all of the crossbench.
This scandal has engrossed the world. We take into consideration the Australian Parliament last week voted 84 members to 42 for the United States to drop the charges and bring Julian home.
Julian Assange is not an American. WikiLeaks is not an American publication, but the U.S. government says they can come and find you anywhere in the world and put you on trial for exposing their war crimes. If that precedent is set, it will be the death of journalism in the U.S., it will be the death of journalism the world over, and it will be the death of all of our rights to say no to war and militarism.
This could be the last hearing today. And if the extradition will be given free, then there could be an intervention by the court, by the European Court for Human Rights, in Strasbourg.
It's been markedly obvious how great the reporting has been all around the world of the appalling injustice that's been done to Julian and how little the British media have covered it. It's a story right on their doorsteps. But I guess for the British establishment, the whole question of Julian Assange is just a little bit embarrassing.
And over 12 years ago, Julian has been deprived of his liberty. And today, he is facing the end of this political show trial in the United Kingdom.
They want to send a chilling message to every journalist in this country and around the world. Don't expose war crimes, because if you do, what happened to Julian Assange might happen to you.
Calling for an end to this prosecution and the persecution of Julian, for the charges to be dropped and for Julian to be free.
In the 23 years that I've been investigating and researching the murderous and corrupt global trade in weapons, the most effective, the most important truth teller on the global arms trade, on the warfare committed in our names with our tax pounds, has been Julian Assange.
So we're not letting the US government off the hook today, no matter what happens here in London. The responsibility still lies with the US Department of Justice. At any point, they could drop the charges, they could close this case, they could let Julian Assange free. This it never had to be a matter before the courts, and it does not have to play out in this inevitable way.
What this case is saying is that any journalist anywhere in the world could be prosecuted in the United States and extradited to face prosecution for publishing truthful information, for publishing information that shows us war crimes, human rights abuse around the world. This is the most important free speech, probably of our generation. And the precedent that it's setting is having a chilling effect on journalists all over the world. It is diminishing the moral authority of the UK, Australia, the United States to raise issues of press freedom with Russia, China, and countries like this. So it's important that we continue to make this point. This is about journalism, it is about the protection of free speech, and Julian Assange's case is not just about Julian, but about all journalists and editors in this country and around the world.
And just in case the judges don't know what the right solution is, let's tell them. There's only one solution. There's only one decision. Only one decision. Only one decision. Only one decision.